Oh yeah, I know I'm taking kind of a risk here, but this is an amazing song. It's from a completely different era. They called it glam rock back then, but if you're really paying attention as you listen to it, you can definitely feel the seeds being sown for so much that we love about today's new rock. Screaming vocals, 0.0. Crushing breakdowns, 0.0. But once you get past that, it comes up way big on everything else. Pulsating beat, infectiously catchy hooks, outrageous fashions, hotness of singer. More about that here in just a moment. And all of this at a time when, this thing came out in 1971. At that moment, the rock and roll landscape was pretty much a wasteland of leftover hippie holdout music from the 60s that was still kicking around, but by now was well past its prime and sort of mellowing out into some sort of weirdness. But you were still a good 5 years away from the first beginnings of real punk rock either. And then there was this sort of regional sound coming up out of the South that was starting to get a foothold as well. And then there was this. And this would have been the alternative in its day. This would have been the alternative from all the other stuff. This is what I would have listened to back then. And these people had to know, they had to know just how much they really were going against the grain. They just didn't care. Shut up and just be the person that you already are. And he was also the very first artist to introduce this sort of ambiguous sexuality to the music. That's right, this predates David Bowie by a good solid year and a half. And for all those hippie holdouts who by now had more or less become the establishment, this had to make them very uncomfortable. And anytime you can make the establishment flinch, that's always hot, no matter what era you're in. Hotness of singer, there simply are no words. Marc Bolan is God, and he would go on to become very much of an elder statesman in his own right to usher in the real first punk rock artists of the mid-70s. Artists like the Ramones and the Sex Pistols and a few others, before his own tragic and untimely death in 1977 in a freak car accident. When I listen to the very best of today's new rock artists like Escape the Fate, Tokyo Hotel, Black Veil Brides, and so many others, each of whom in their own way are pushing the envelope further and further out there, I know he has to be out there just cheering them on every step of the way. I can just feel it. So, here's to T-Rex and Marc Bolan. He may have thought of himself as a 20th century boy back then, but his legacy has, and I'm sure will, continue to live on well beyond all of that. Steve out.